Hi Ralph, how are you?
Hi, thank you.
Ralph, is the way the side finished the game against Leeds on Saturday giving everyone a boost this week in training?
It's just always good to have a start at home where you take something, and especially after being 2 down, it was a good reaction from the team, and we had a good week so far. Yes.
How's the squad looking from an injury perspective? Any fresh concerns?
Yeah, after the last game we had only a problem with Shea. He wasn't training until today. Today he was stepping back in the session, so missed a few sessions this week, but is available for the weekend. And the rest, was okay. Yeah.
So Lienko back in training and available again.
Yeah, Lienko is back in training. So the longer injuries are Romain, who is still not available because he was also out for the last game. Tino. And Shea, as I said, in the beginning of the week.
And can I just get an update on Theo Walcott? What's his level of fitness at the moment?
He's also now training with the team. Missed the whole pre-season with injury, so he's on the way back with the team every day training. Yes.
Are you close to bringing in any other players ahead of the transfer window in 2 weeks' time?
We will see.
6 players that you brought into the club, all under the age of 25. So any player that comes in now, do they need to fit that profile, or if you find someone slightly more experienced above the age of 25 that you think would make a difference, is that possible?
Yeah, it's always possible, but it's tough because I think players they have shown up somewhere else are very, very expensive, and for us always tough to get. But it's not about young or old. We need players that give us the potential to get better, and this is very often based on young ones. We are very happy with what we have signed so far this season, and we give them the chance to play here, and I think they have shown immediately that they can have an impact for us.
How pleased have you been by how some of those signings have settled in so soon?
We have played 2 games so far. We see that there are still a lot of things that they need to learn, but for us it's important to see the potential, and the potential I think everybody could see, and now it's on us to make them better.
In terms of departures, there's a report suggesting that Watford are in talks about potentially signing Jack Stevens. Are you expecting him to potentially leave the club?
Sorry that I don't want to discuss any personality that you bring up now, because then we don't get ready at the end of the, I think, evening, because we have so many players. They are named for us and going out from us, so I think it doesn't make sense. I'm sure that in the next 2 weeks you can feel now that the transfer market gets more busy. 2 weeks to go, I think, and a lot of teams have now struggling with a few injuries. The first games are played. You see that what is working, where you miss players. So it's normal that in that time of the year, then the transfer market is getting busy. So it's for us the same. We keep our eyes open. We hope that we do the right things in the right moments.
You'll be aware of the report from last week which spoke about the relationship between you and your players. Have you spoken to anybody at the club, any of the squad, about that this week?
This week, not. It didn't make the last week easier, to be honest, but we kept it very calm internal, because there was no reason to speak with my players about it. I kept it absolutely calm because I know about my relationship to my players. And the right answer to give is every time on the weekend. You need the arguments on the weekend, and I think we have shown that we are a group that fights together and is again willing to compete in this wonderful, fantastic league, in this wonderful club, and we are doing everything to be competitive.
And finally, for me, you successfully changed the system on Saturday, going to 4 at the back to force that result. Are you considering potentially going back to that, or will you look to persevere with the 3 which you were using in pre-season and the start of this season as well?
We invested a lot of energy to play in this shape, and what we played in the end of last game was an all-in, what is also sometimes working, but you have to be careful when you use it.
Thanks, Ralph.
Hi Ralph, on the back of that, during that drinks break, you had that team around you. You were discussing in the past when you've been struggling, it felt like maybe you were a bit lonely on the touchline to make those decisions. Can you explain how that might have changed, how better it feels to have all those people around you?
No, it was not in the past that I felt lonely or that I now don't feel lonely. In the end, you're always lonely because you are the guy who has to take the decision, and nobody tells you if it's good or not. But in the end, you have to take it, and that's why I stand down there and take it. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes maybe not. But in the end, the final decision you have to take, and it is not so that I felt lonely in the last year and not now. So it's always important to get informations about players, about what the opponent does, and then bring everything together and have the clear mind to find the right decision, what is sometimes not so easy.
At the moment you have a very large squad of players. It means some of them might have to depart the club in the next 2 weeks. How do you manage that as well as getting results? It might be a bit confusing for some players, all this movement within the squad.
Well, we try to give them also game times. We had on Sunday a friendly game, an indoor friendly game, to keep them on the same impact like the others as long as possible. I know that during the season, then when you have such a big squad, that automatically the gap gets bigger between the players. They're always starting on the others they don't do. So we try to keep it as long as possible on the same level, because especially in the beginning, now you have then the cup round coming up. So it's easier a little bit. The longer the season goes, the harder it is. This season is a little bit different with the break in the winter. So, but yeah, we will see what happens and how big the squad will be in the end. We have still a way to go, and very often players, when they see that they are not playing, they want to leave or they want to do something new, and then you sit together and discuss what is the best option.
Last one from me. Last time you went to the King Power, you lost 4-1. What's the difference between your team then and your team now?
Yeah, the difference is hopefully that we have in the first goal not with a decision of a referee and of the opponent. What I still must say that I cannot follow what happened there at that time. I mean, this was definitely decisive for this game, because until that moment we have been good in the game. And the end, we have a little bit of a different squad now. They, I think, have not signed one player so far. So, but they are still a team that is playing or has played a lot of competitive games also in international football. A side that is played for a top 10 ranking the last years all the time. So you see the quality they have in every position, and still a ground where we like to go, because we had also some good games there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does that Jamie Vardy goal still annoy you a little bit then? Because the game was tight when that incident happened. You should have had the ball. They go and score. Is that a motivation for the players as well, who will be going back there just 3 months later?
I think it's always a motivation when you lose a game, but when you lose it in this way, even more. I think the way was absolutely not right and not fair. I think, and we get punished for something what was not right. But yeah, it's gone, and we cannot win this game, but we can win this game on the weekend, and this is the goal, and this is why we are going there with all the motivation we need to have.
Interesting parallels between you and Leicester. You've both been to North London, played 5 at the back and scored 4 goals against. You've both drawn 2-2 at home, and now you come together, and maybe the gap between the two clubs is closer. They seem to be having no signings and a difficult summer. You've made signings. Are you closing the gap a little bit, possibly?
I don't know. We will see it at the end of the season. In the moment, I don't feel that we are a club that is on this level, because I think they had in the last years a very successful time, and after a tough start, the same situation like we have. You said it in the beginning of the season, to speak about gap between teams. I think we are all not so 100% sure on what position or in what level we are, and it's up to us to go there and to do our best to let it look different than last time.
I imagine, like your chief executive, Brendan Rodgers, wishes the window shuts before the first game of the season. It makes August a bit false, doesn't it? It's very difficult to judge, because you don't know what you're going to have. It's wrong, really. It's not great, is it?
You mean from
Well, from the team, for a manager as well. You don't know what you're going to have in a month's time. You make plans, and then a month later it could be different. The window doesn't shut early.
Yes, that's right. But you can only shut the window when this is also shut somewhere else. I think we had a situation one time here where we shut the window earlier, and then the other team could still sign players and we couldn't anymore. So this was not perfect, to be honest. So it's now for everybody the same. And it's good that it in the end shuts at the 31st of August because, otherwise maybe you like it to speak about transfers all the year. I don't do it, so I don't like to do it. And it's also good for us then to concentrate on our main job, and this is making this team better and winning games.
I wasn't stupid. The away form, let's talk about the away form. Last season, just 3 away wins. Not difficult start at Spurs, we know that. You've got to be aiming for more points away from home, just to take a little bit of pressure off the home games this season.
Yes, definitely. We had years or seasons where we had been at home horrible and away unbelievably good, and this last season was the opposite. We had a long unbeaten run at home, and then away we were struggling with 2-3 good games, but this is not enough. We know that we have to do more there, and want to show our fans from the first moment that we are willing to show a different face. And I could see during the week that we are definitely on the way to get committed as a team, as a group. New players are coming in. With every session, with every day, we are sitting together, we are working together. This becomes a unit, and this is good.
Okay, we'll move on to the section for 10:30 this evening. Ben, do you want to start off?
Yeah, Ralph, just firstly on Romain, he said last week before the game with Leeds that he was feeling fit. Has he had some sort of setback?
Yeah, the groin problems were bigger than we thought. It's not the injury he had in the summer. It's a muscle injury, and this is always a little bit tricky when you don't have a preseason and you start and you immediately step in, and everything was going quite well. But the fundament, the basic, was not there or is not there, and then you can see that sometimes other problems are coming up.
Is there any sort of timeline for him at the moment?
No, the timeline is that beginning next week he should be back in training. So for this weekend it is too early, but hopefully starting next week he's back. That doesn't mean that he can play then in the cup, but we will see.
And I'm not going to ask you about anyone in particular, but you've spoken about forward strikers, bringing in players in the attack.
Did I?
It seems all over the table teams are struggling to bring in strikers. How difficult of a market is it at the moment for those players?
If you're good, it's not a difficult market. You get a lot of offers in the moment because a lot of teams are looking for some positions, and we have also our eyes open. This is for sure, and it's not difficult for the players when you're good. As I said, it's not difficult for them. For us, maybe even harder when there are more clubs betting for a player. But we will see what we get.
And Moussa Djenepo, he finished the game against Leeds at left back, or a semi-version of left back. I thought he is looking he's playing the defensive side of his role with a lot of intensity, a lot of commitment. That must be pleasing to see, even if he hasn't sort of grown up as a defender.
Yes, I mean, as we said in the summer, we know that we are short of players for these positions. This was one of the reasons why we decided to go in a back five. Because especially for Moussa, for these offensive players, it's a little bit easier to play a wing back than a full back. And but I must say that also in the last 20 minutes he did a good job on this position. He was really. You must tell him that he's always good fighting for this, and he learns it more and more also to play as a full back. And you will see if we trust him to do it also in a game in a back four. But in a back five, he showed that he can definitely play this position.
And just lastly, tomorrow the women's team starts their championship season. They've obviously been around Staplewood a lot more over the last few months now that they're full-time. It's obviously a very exciting moment for the whole club, and it must be quite nice just to see that part of the club growing.
Yeah, it's quite busy in the building meanwhile, so we have not only the women here, also the academy is coming more and more now after the pandemic. It's getting full house here, but we are a big group, we are a big family if you want, and we are always following everybody and hoping everybody is successful for this wonderful club.
Seems a bit unusual to be sat here and talking about a possibly bloated squad, players needing to go out, you spending £50 million already this summer. How much have you enjoyed this transfer window compared to previous transfer windows when obviously you've had to wait to get players off the wage bill before you can really make signings?
Absolutely enjoyed it that we have the chance to bring players in that we really want. What is still. We still speak about players around maybe 10 million or something like that. So not superstars or players with where everybody says wow. So most of the time people say who, but after hopefully 2, 3, 4 games they say okay, wow, good signings. This is what we want to go for, and this will be in the future the same with a little bit patience and give them time. We will have a lot of fun with them.
And does it make the role of James Ward-Prowse even more important as the sort of senior statesman in the starting lineup? Because obviously there have been clubs interested in him, but might we look back at the end of the window as keeping James Ward-Prowse as your best bit of business?
Yeah, I mean, for every experienced player, it is not easy to see all the young lads coming through the door and then also stepping up. It's good for them to see, but it gives him an even more important role as a captain in this club. He knows how to handle them without feeling that he's lost in all the young lads around him. So I think he learned a lot in the past. We had a lot of experience here in this club with players in the past, and still have a lot of experience here. So I think we always have to be careful that the balance is right. Yeah, what is not always easy, because in general teams are getting younger, players are getting younger on a higher level, and you use them very early. But in the end, I think we were going in a successful direction with these young lads.
With those leadership skills that you've spoken about with Ward-Prowse, and obviously he clearly has a very good football brain, do you see a future manager there in Ward-Prowse?
I think it is. Last week we spoke about what was it? Testimonial about him, and now we speak about his career as a football manager. Please let him play football. For me, he still looks very, very talented, not really experienced. So as a little bit more than a talent. So leave him for another, hopefully a long time on the pitch, and then Always players they start very early and have experience with a lot of games, and then maybe a lot of different managers become big managers in the end, but not everybody.
And just finally, without naming names, if you can get that number 9 that I think the club are looking for between now and September the 1st, would that be the perfect transfer window?
It's interesting that you always speak about the number 9. We have, as you said, other positions where we have more lack of players where we're looking, but I know that always strikers are always interesting for you to speak about, and we just signed one, and we will see what we do in the last 2 weeks.
Hi Ralph, thanks so much for your time. I just wondered if the kind of strong finish in the last game and that fight back, does that actually show how strong the dressing room is, and it was a kind of marker of actually there's a lot of unity in the dressing room? Things like that.
Yeah, I think a team that doesn't care about anything, it would not react like we did in the last game. I mean, this, as I said after the game, gives you the answer for this question. And more, I don't want to speak about things that somebody brings up and thinks he must make a big story out of it. And we cannot. I'm not the detective who is every day around and looking who is bringing a story up. And I mean, we are still a team or a club that is a little bit under the radar. I cannot imagine how it is when you play for or work for top 6 clubs in England. I mean, then you have these rumors maybe every week, but it's stupid to speak about it.